Hi, Luke. What's wrong? Turn this way. Tell me. Search your feelings, Luke.
Do you remember your mother?
Bits and pieces.
Well, tell me about her.
She was very pretty, very young, but also sad. You know what's funny about the whole thing is she died immediately after I was born. I don't know how I have these images in my head. In fact, you came out of the vagina first. Well, you remember Stuttering Stanley? She was a lot like him. I called her Stuttering Stanley many times. Then she blew up.
I have no memory of her.
Why are you telling me this?
I don't have time to explain. Vader's here.
Vader? How do you know?
I can sense him.
Sense him how?
Look, I have the power, but you have that power too.
The power of Grayskull?
Yes. He's my father.
Your father?
There's more.
No.
He's your father too.
No.
Yes.
But
That means we're brother and sister. Do the math.
just run away, run far away from here where they can't get you.
I have to face him, Leia. There's good in him.
So what?
I have to try.
Try what?
Try.
To what?
To try.
To what?
Be quiet, Ewoks.
I'm not gonna tell Han that you're my brother.
No, because I still
It'll
want kind of a quickie when I get back.
It'll make it things difficult.
I want a quickie.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Man, I can't wait.
Before the cigarettes. Before the cigarettes.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Rob here from Movie Review Time. Welcome back to another Star Wars movie review. Continuing on with my Star Wars movie series marathon. I wanted to review all the movies up to Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to have the, skit that Dan and I do before this and then the bloopers at the end. But yeah, today we're going to talk about my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, and that is The Return of the Jedi, also known as Episode 6, 1983. The original title for this was actually going to be called Revenge of the Jedi, but they used that title for Revenge of the Sith. So this was actually a better title. And once again, this was not directed by George Lucas. The screenplay was by Lucas and Lawrence Kasdan, and the story was by George Lucas. It was directed by Richard Markin. And before Markin, they wanted to get Steven Spielberg, David Lynch, and David Cronenberg to direct. I mean, they were actually considered. I wonder how that would have turned out with David. Can you imagine David Cronenberg directing this movie? That'd be awesome, actually. But yeah, this is my favorite Star Wars film. Had a budget of 32 to 42 million, and it made about 475 to 572 million at the box office. It is the third movie in the original trilogy. And most people will say that this is the movie that suffered the most with the changes, as far as the changes that they made. But the movie basically takes place where the Empire is constructing a second Death Star in order to crush the Rebel Alliance. And if you remember A New Hope, they destroyed the Death Star, and now they're reconstructing it. And the Emperor plans to oversee the final stages of its construction. And the Rebel fleet launches a full-scale attack on the Death Star in order to prevent its completion. They're going to bring an end to his hold over the galaxy, and Luke struggles to bring his father Vader back to the light side of the Force. And you would think that to destroy the Death Star 2, it would be easy, but they have this shield generator that's located on the nearby moon of Endor. And, you know, Endor, the home of the Ewoks, that's where the Empire has the shield generator, so they have to destroy that, and so they can, you know, blow up the second Death Star. Now, that's pretty much it in this movie. I mean, there's a lot going on, especially like the first act, you know, when they try to save Han from, you know, Jabba the Hutt. That's like probably one of my favorite scenes. Luke actually uses the Force choke in this movie, which is interesting because he never did in any other movies. But he's dressed in black, and a lot of people say, well, this is like almost his descent into the dark side, and that's not even true. I mean, he's dressed more formal, like a Jedi would dress. I mean, look at Anakin. He dressed in black too, kind of brownish black, before he even descended into the dark side. So that has nothing to do with it. Luke is too, you know, Luke would never go down that path. I mean, they prove that in this movie. But look, you know, Han is frozen in carbonite. Leia basically saves him by dressing up as a bounty hunter. The whole Jabba Palace thing is great. Lando Calrissian actually dresses up as, you know, undercover to save Han as well, because he's a good guy. But you know, the whole Rancor pit thing was amazing. That is like one of my favorite creature parts in any of the Star Wars films. The Rancor eats that pig, and Luke has to fight him. Really, really cool. And, you know, Boba Fett, I still think he is an overrated character because he doesn't do jack. In this movie, he tries to shoot his blaster, and Luke basically, you know, uses his lightsaber and cuts off the end of his blaster. And then Boba Fett just basically ends up into the Sarlacc pit, which they changed. The Sarlacc pit is not just a hole anymore, it has a beak. And I thought that was kind of cool. It gave it some life a little bit. Otherwise, it was just a stupid hole. It's what's underneath the sand. The Sarlacc is actually huge. Underneath the sand is like the belly of the Sarlacc, which they kind of go into a little bit of detail. C-3PO does. But Jabba the Hutt, he looks really awesome. Then, of course, you got Slave Leia right there in her kind of like metal bikini, which everyone talks about. I personally think she was really hot in New Hope. But, well, there's another shot of her with the big, ugly Jabba the Hutt. We get to see a lot of the Emperor in this movie. The third act of the movie is probably my favorite of any Star Wars film, the confrontation. Luke tries to, you know, turn his father back to the light side and sees that there's good in him, which goes back to The Last Jedi. You know, Luke is actually able to turn his father good. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's feared in the galaxy, Darth Vader. We're talking about a guy who has killed tons of people, tons of Jedi, slaughtered many. And Luke was able to look inside of him and see that there's good and bring him back to the light and save him. But in Last Jedi, he sees that there's something going on with Ben Solo and becomes afraid and hesitates to kill him and decides to run away from the situation. What the hell? That is not Luke Skywalker. I don't care what anybody says. That is not Luke Skywalker. Okay? Mark Hamill even says it. Mark Hamill knows Luke Skywalker better than anybody. Luke would not run like a little bitch. He was crying like a... This movie proves that what this in Empire Strikes Back proves that what they did in Last Jedi is not Luke's character. That is Rian Johnson's idea. That is not Luke's character, okay? That is not how Luke is. Even in the comic books, in the books, Luke was a badass. Luke fought everybody. He even had kids with Mara Jade. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll get to that again when we get to The Last Jedi. And people may not understand this, but these movies are what... this is what Luke is like in these movies. So why the hell did they change it like that in Last Jedi? And there's no continuity there at all. Anyway, getting off topic here. So you got Mark Hamill as Luke, Harrison Ford as Han, Carrie Fisher as Leia, Billy D. Williams as Lando. Pretty much everyone returns. Ian McDiarmid as Emperor Palpatine, who is amazing. Frank Oz as Yoda. And, you know, of course, we get the death of Yoda. Yoda is not really in this as much. But, you know, in this movie, Luke wants to complete his training and confront Vader. Because of what happened in Empire, he pretty much got his ass kicked. In this one, he's going to confront him and become a Jedi. David Prowse is Vader, James Earl Jones is the voice, and then Sebastian Shaw is the unmasked Vader, as well as the, you know, the Force Ghost. Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan, Force Ghost. John Williams did the music. As far as changes go, some of these actually bother me. I don't like how they added a Hayden Christensen at the end. That's just a personal opinion because it's kind of a slap in the face with Sebastian Shaw. I understand why they did it, because they wanted to show that Anakin was the true hero, and that they showed him all young before he descended into the dark side, and that's the last time he was good. So they showed him as a younger Anakin. But that's not the last time he was good, because Luke saved him. Anakin was good before he died. Even though he did a lot of bad things, Luke brought him back. Which is why the original part was with Sebastian Shaw as a Force Ghost, because that's when he last was good. So it doesn't make sense. He doesn't need to be young Anakin. Luke would look at him and be like, well, who's that? Like, he never knew what his father looked like before then. I mean, Anakin was the only one to go back to being young. Yoda was still old. And, of course, Obi-Wan was still old. And I understand they didn't descend into madness, into the dark side, but they didn't need to do it that way. The only reason also that they did that is to make sure that the prequels are in line with these older films. For it to make sense, but I still think it makes sense that Sebastian Shaw... I mean, it's not like Anakin can't ever grow old like the others. Sebastian Shaw, it's almost like a slap in the face with him. Now, you know, the only way to see him now is in the original versions, and that sucks. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to do away with him. I didn't like it. I don't like it. Just because you want to tie in with the other movies, it doesn't make sense. A lot of people have a problem with the Ewoks. I don't. I actually like the Ewoks. One of my favorite Ewok movies is Battle for Endor. I like those movies. And I had no problem with the Ewoks at all. The part where Vader says no in this movie and throws the Emperor down the shaft, I thought that could have been left out because we didn't need that. It showed there's enough emotion. Even though Vader's wearing a mask, you can see the kind of struggle he's going through when he looks at his son getting electrocuted. Then he looks back at the Emperor. Then it's like he's going back and forth in his mind. What should I do? And then he makes the decision. He throws the Emperor over the edge. That's all we needed. We didn't need him to just say no. It was I don't know. I thought that was just kind of stupid, and they didn't really need that to put that in there. So yeah. Then they changed the Nub Nub song, Yub Nub, Ewok song, which is the one I grew up with. I just think that was kind of an unnecessary change. I just like the song better. And you know, they changed it. And I wouldn't say like the new song, the new one is bad. I just prefer the original. And they added a few more scenes at the end with, you know, Naboo and Coruscant, which is also to you know, be in line with the prequels. So they added those, and I guess that's okay, even though it's CGI environments and it still looks different. And then there's also the Cantina Bar, or not the Cantina Bar, but the Jabba's Palace song. And they changed that too, and I thought it was really dumb how they added a couple of CGI creatures when you have everything around it is practical creatures. And you add these CGI creatures that it looks like you're watching a cartoon mixed with live action. That's what it looks like. It does not look good. And I've always brought that argument up. When you add CGI stuff to a film that used nothing but practical, you can see the difference. Because it's not shot digitally, or it's not, you know, it's not shot on a green screen. It's not shot with digital effects. That's the difference, and you can see that. It just looks bad. It doesn't look like it belongs there. And I prefer the original song with the original instead of the CGI creatures singing. It just, I don't know, that whole dance number, it just didn't fit. That's just my opinion. But anyway, yeah, I think this movie kind of suffered the most with the changes, but I still do like some of the changes. I still do like some of the things that they did. Anyway, Return of the Jedi is my favorite. This is the epic conclusion, so we thought, in the Skywalker saga. And before we got the actual sequel trilogy. But in my opinion, this was the last good movie. If you count the prequels 1 through 6, this is the last good one, because the sequel trilogy they have so many problems that I can't ignore that. I can't ignore that. I'm not going to sit here and lie and jump on the bandwagon saying, well, these movies aren't bad. You know, I'm going to give my honest opinion. So, but anyway, yeah, great movie, my favorite of the series. And what do you guys think of the Return of the Jedi? You know, like, as far as, like I said, creatures go, story-wise, with him trying to turn his father back to the light, you have Yoda dying, you have so much going on in this movie. Harrison Ford didn't even really want to be in this. He wanted to be killed off. And if you think about it, he didn't have much to do. Actually, you know, when he got out of the carbonite, he basically didn't do much. Just trying to get that shield down. That's about it. When they get on the planet of Endor, you know, it's all about trying to get that shield down. You have the Ewoks fighting the Stormtroopers, which I actually liked. I liked that better than the Gungan fight in Episode 1. For one, it looked better, and two, like the Ewoks, I can relate to them more, I think, than the Gungans. But I like the Ewok fight, and then the speeder bike chase was excellent. I always love that speeder bike chase. Really, really cool stuff. But the whole confrontation with the Emperor, that is it right there. That is the highlight of the entire saga. That's what it came to. But anyway, guys, that is my review for Return of the Jedi, my favorite. And stay tuned, because next is the sequel trilogy, the Disney trilogy, so to say. And even though I like Force Awakens, it does have some problems, and I will address it in my next review. So stay tuned for Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Thanks for watching.
Luke, what's wrong?
Son of a bitch, Leia.
Luke, what's wrong? I called her Stuttering Stanley many times. Then she blew up.
There you go again. What the fuck?
Luke, what's wrong? Luke, what's wrong?
Tell me about it.
She was a slut.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I can remember my father.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Bail Organa's wife. What a whore.
Vader's here.
Darth Vader?
He's my father.
Oh.
He's your father too.
Oh!
You have that.
We fucked.
That's okay in some regions. The outer rim, it's okay.
I'm pregnant. What are we gonna do? Don't go. Just run away. Run far. Hide. Get out of here. Just run.
Vader's here.
I know. But it was also Snoke. Where's Han?